Well, that's looking back, but joining me now to talk about the future is Steve Nash, Chief Executive of IMI. Great to see you again, Steve. Thanks for coming in and talking to me. The motor industry is changing so fast, isn't it? How is that impacting your members?
Well, look, I mean, we're probably going through the biggest changes the industry has seen for 100 years. You know, new drivetrains, new ways. There's quite a lot of disruption in the market, new ways of selling cars. And our members basically expect us to support them through that. You know, we're the professional body, so if they need new skills, we've got to be helping them with that. And that's really where we see our role, trying to help them make sense of all those changes and be prepared for them. So, you know, whether that's lobbying government or just making sure that the appropriate qualifications and so on and accreditations are out there, that's where we fit in.
Last time we spoke, we talked a bit about the skills shortage that your industry is facing. Has that got any better?
Not really, no. It hasn't got any better for a number of reasons. I mean, one is because our industry has just been very successful over the last few years. And, you know, last year was a record year, again, you know, for about the fourth time in a row. So the industry is under stress because of its own success, which is a good thing. But I think that there's a tendency for us to look inwardly. And of course, you know, it's recently been announced that, you know, employment's probably at an all-time record level. So absolutely every industry is suffering from a skills shortage, and that makes it doubly important that we do a good job, because actually we're competing. It's a sort of life or death struggle for people with every other industry. So we have to really be able to showcase why our industry is the right industry to work in, what's really attractive about it, the great opportunities we have.
As you said, you're a victim of your own success, but you must have plans in place to try and address that skills shortage.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I mean, actually, there's an awful lot that goes on within the industry, and we've got some amazing employers who do a fantastic amount in their own right. I think the problem is making sure that the pipeline sort of coming in at the top, so they've got it is full, so that they've got a decent sort of quality and quantity of people to choose from. And we're working very closely with other bodies in the industry to try and have a concerted effort on that, because the worst thing in the world is if we all go at it separately, because that just looks confusing to the outside world. We need a very clear message, very clear offer to people. And we're doing a lot around that. I mean, that's we're right at the centre of that agenda.
Now, every year has a new challenge. This year it's the apprenticeship levy. How's that going to affect you, but also your members?
Well, I mean, it affects everybody who has apprentices, and you know, whether you're a levy payer or not, because the rules have changed for everybody. But I mean, we've got a significant number of members who are in that levy paying group. That's people with a payroll of more than 3 million who are going to be paying 0.5%. And actually, the evolution of this has been very unclear. It really has felt like the government's made it up as they've gone along, and the news, so even big employers have been fairly ill-informed about it, and we've been pretty critical of that, and we've lobbied very hard for changes where we've seen changes to be needed, but. We're now at the point where it's upon us. So you have to kind of say, right, let's make this work. And I think we very much see our role, and we've been working very hard to help people through that, giving them the advice on how they should be going about it, making sure they understand what it all means, and how the changes will impact what they already do. Because we employ about 12,000 apprentices a year already in the industry, but the whole methodology behind it has changed completely, and people have to be aware of that and know what they've got to do.
Steve, before you go, I must ask you about tech, because of course tech changes everything, doesn't it? To pick up on the apprentices, the engines that they're starting their apprenticeship on will be very different by the end of their training. So tech has a massive impact on your industry as well. Yeah,
and that's something we have to get across to government as well, because actually I wrote to John Hayes, the Minister of Transport, not so long ago, and put a problem to him, and he said, well, won't the apprentices, the new apprenticeships solve that? And what the government needs to realise is that apprenticeships are great, but they're just the start of someone's journey. We're talking about very, very rapidly evolving technology. And as you rightly say, I mean, a car is not just a car. I mean, the cars that people are working on today will be, very different to what we'll be working on in 3, 4, 5, 10 years' time. Things like autonomous technology, I mean, that's a massive, massive change, electric drivetrains and so on. And there's a lot more training that needs to go on beyond, just that initial training of getting somebody into the industry. We're committed to the view that people working on those new technologies, high voltage technologies, which are potentially lethal, autonomous technologies, which, I mean, it doesn't bear thinking about, the fact that somebody working on those autonomous technologies might not be properly qualified if you're relying on that technology to drive you around and keep you on the right side of the road. So we're saying, that needs to be thought about, and we're lobbying for some form of licensing around that, because, that's honestly, that's it. There'll never be a better time to do that, because this is brand new technology. It's not something people have been working on all their lives. And if we don't do it now, it becomes more difficult once people start saying, well, I'm already doing this.
It's essential.
It's essential, absolutely.
Politically, last year was tumultuous by every estimation.
Yes.
What's the impact of that going to be this year?
Well, we don't know where Brexit's going to take us. So, I mean, that's still more of the same. That's got to evolve, hasn't it? We, don't even start me with Donald Trump. But on top of that, we've got rising inflation, possible pressures on interest rates. The year has started actually very strongly, the first quarter for the industry. But, everybody keeps talking about the fact the industry will turn down because we've had about 4 or 5 years of growth, and sooner or later they'll be right, but our industry is very, very adaptable to that, though. I mean, because that's what we have to do. We just have to live with the economy we've got. But I think, that quite a lot of change this year, and our job is to just help people work their way through it, and where there needs to be a response to the changes that helps our industry along, to do our bit to make that a positive impact on our industry.
It's always great to talk to you, Steve. Thank you very much indeed.
Good to talk to you too.